With our version 7 release, we extended our built-in functions capability, especially around a little bit more statistical analysis and regression analysis capability. So what you see in front of you is Flow version 7, and I've got this hourly bad production counter measure, or KPI, so you can see how much bad product have I been producing. Now what if I want to do a little bit of statistical analysis on this KPI? Well, if we go to our toolbox and we expand our function capability here, in the aggregations folder, we added a few more statistical functions. We can now get the mean of a certain range of values. We can also derive the standard deviation, and we can go and create histogram buckets and see how many of these points fall in my histogram distribution depending on the bucket size. So let's do the mean, the first one that we're going to do here. So I'm going to take my hourly bad production KPI and I'm going to drag it onto the calculator icon to create a calculated KPI. This stage I'm going to just rename it to be the mean of my bad production. If I open up the retrieval section at the bottom here, I can go and add my function from my toolbox here, and I literally just drag the mean function into the expression editor at the bottom. Now it wants me to provide an array of values because I need to give it some historical values to perform the mean aggregate of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and specify that Flow needs to return me a range of values for my KPI here. The way that we do that is I select the KPI or measure in my retrieval section here, and I expand the properties pane. I can decide if I want to look at the current values or if I want to look at a previous range of values. And that's what I'm going to do. So let's say for the past 7 hours, so I'm starting 7 hours back up until now, I want to use that 7 points to go and calculate the mean. Now, what I now need to do is I need to replace this section here with the KPI. So I'm just going to delete these values here and double click on the measure. Notice that it filled it in for me automatically, and now I'm passing in that array of doubles. Validate this, deploy it out, and again the Flow engine will retrieve the array, it will pass it to the function, and it will save the result within Flow's database. So let's just give it some time to do. There we go, the engine picked it up, and there we go, I can see what the mean of my bad production is. Perfect. Now we can do the same for histogram and standard deviation. Let's quickly do that. Again, take the hourly KPI, drag it on the calculator. This is going to be my histogram bucket. I'm just going to call it histogram. And I'm going to do that again to create my standard deviation. There we go. All right, let's look at the histogram first. Again, I'm going to go to the retrieval section here. I am going to add my histogram function by the drop and drag operation, and now I need to give it a few more parameters. First of all, again, I need an array of values, so I'm going to do that same exercise. I'm going to go and change this to return me a range of values past 7 hours. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and replace the array with that array of values. Now it asks me for a number of how many buckets do I want to split this up. I'm going to do 10 buckets for my histogram, and now it's going to ask me, okay, which one of the buckets of the 10 do I want to return the distribution of? Let's return the first bucket's distribution from the histogram. Again, validate the calculation, deploy this out. Flow engine is going to pick it up, it's going to pull that historical data, and it's going to go and give me the distribution for the first bucket of 10 in my histogram distribution, and it's going to save the result within the database as well. So let's give it some time. There we go. So you can see it's very low, which is what I expect. If you look at the bell curve of a histogram, the lower ends of the buckets will probably have the least amount of counts in it. So that's working perfectly. Let's look at the standard deviation now. Same scenario, expand this retrieval section, drag my function into the blank space here, and again all I need to do is provide the range of values that I would like to pass to perform the standard deviation. Now remember, this is going to be moving. So every new hour is going to take the past 7 hours values to perform. So it's a constantly moving calculation as we go forward in time. Deploy this out, and now we're going to have our standard deviation. Engine going to pick it up, do it in the back end, and save the result within our database. And there I have my standard deviation. Alright, now one that I'm most excited about is the addition of some regression analysis. So you'll notice that we've got a new folder in the toolbox, our regression analysis folder, and in here I've got a line regression analysis, some straightforward linear analysis functions, as well as some polynomial regression analysis function. So you'll notice that there's a LineFitPredicted. So what this will do is it will fit a line to the array of values that you pass to it, and then can predict how many points into the future for you. So let's look at that. Let's just refresh this, and there we go. There's my standard deviation of my pair production. Alright, just going to clean this up a bit. Let's take the hourly again, drag it onto the calculation icon, and this is going to be my linear predicted. Let's open this up, and as normal, drag the function from the toolbox into the expression editor. Alright, now it needs two things. You need to give it the x-axis value as well as the y-axis value for your trend, and then how many future periods do you want to project into the future. So my x-axis is going to be the actual amount of points that I need, and the y-axis is the actual points. Alright, let's look at my bad production again, and this time let's just do it for a range of the past 4 periods. Alright, so let's replace that portion there with the array of values. So there we go, I've got my array of values. Let's just make this a little bit more neater. So I've got my first parameter passed in. Now I need to give it the amount of points that I've got. So the way that we can do that is we can just do a new double declaration. And in this case we know that it's just going to be 1, 2, and 3, and 4 values to match the array size of the values that I'm passing in from the KPI. And remember, we just need to declare the array with the relevant size. I also need to specify what is the projected amount. Let's just say for the next hour I want to see what the projection is going to be, so I'm just going to replace that with a 1 to predict for me 1 period in the future. Validate the calculation, deploy it out, and now the flow engine is going to go and do its magic, and it's going to go and spit it out for me as well. There we go. For the next hour or the next period, I potentially are going to make 950 sides bad production widgets or bad bottles from my production line.